if the only thing that drives you in your world of pleasure is your personal definition of pleasure, you are not only in danger yourself, but you're danger to others. Because every pleasure that exists is meant to help me to understand that there is a higher pleasure that must actually direct and control my life. Here it is. It's the pleasure of God. That everything in my life would not just bring me pleasure, but would bring God pleasure in the way that I relate to all of those things that bring me pleasure. I must be pleasure conscious, not just horizontally. I must be pleasure conscious vertically. That there's a God who calls for me to live in every area of my life in a way that pleases Him. If in the only thing that drives me in sexuality is my personal definition of sexual pleasure, I will misuse sex. If the only thing that drives me in the world of food is my personal pleasure, I'll misuse food. That all of that God ordains for me, all that symphony of wonderful things that are everywhere in my life, that I rise to every day, all of those things are meant to point me to this one pleasure that must rule my heart. This pleasure is meant to remind me of a greater pleasure. You really get this in John 6, if you want to just write that passage down and look at it later. It's a very, very familiar story. It's the story of the feeding of the 5,000. You know the story. Jesus takes the little boy's lunch, and from it produces, in this stunning miracle, a lavish meal for this huge crowd with an incredible amount of leftovers. Now, the response of the crowd is immediately they want to make Jesus their king. And Jesus does this weird thing. Rather than celebrating that, he hides. And you're confronted with the question, why would Jesus hide? I thought he came to be their king. This seems like the magic moment. They've recognized his power and glory, and they want him to be their king. And when the crowd catches up with Jesus, they essentially ask, why did you run away? And Jesus says these words, again, my paraphrase. He said, you ate the bread, but you didn't see the sign. You didn't understand what this physical miracle is about. The only reason you want me to be your king is because you think that I will be the deliverer of the ultimate endless buffet. You don't want me to be your king for any other reason than you love the pleasure of a good meal, and you think I can make the best of meals for you forever. All you care about is physical pleasure. I won't be that kind of king for you. And then he says this, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you won't enter the kingdom of heaven. Don't you understand? Don't you get the point? That this miracle of the bread and the fish, this miracle of this meal, was meant to help you to understand that there's a greater meal that you need to feed yourself on. This physical picture, this physical pleasure was meant to point you to the ultimate satisfying pleasure of knowing and serving me. That's true of everything in your life. And so what should please me is not just that I get to have sex in my life, and that sex can be interesting and exciting and pleasurable, But at that very moment, as I'm enjoying this pleasure, I can enjoy it in such a way that recognizes the position and the glory and the authority and the grace of the one who gave it to me.